Hey guys, it's me, Dayla, and I am here again today to talk about why we chose free birth for our birth experience. Now, free birth is a little bit different than home birth. Home birth is an experience where you birth at home, right? But you have assistance. You have professionals, people, midwife, doula, family, just like more than just your immediate partner, and you have support, you have like professionals there at your home. That's a home birth. A free birth is literally you counting on just yourself, maybe your partner, maybe your children that you already have, to bring the baby into the world really with no professional support, with no professional opinions, with no medical interventions or guidance. So free birth is a little bit different from home birth, and we chose free birth for our birth experience as our ideal birth scenario. Now, I haven't birthed the baby yet. We're at 36 weeks, but I wanted to kind of go through some of the reasons why I chose free birth, because a lot of people ask me the question, well, why would you not want to have a professional at your house? Why would you want to go through your first birth experience with nobody who knows anything about birth or medicine with you at your house? And a lot of people might comment things like, well, she's obviously just like a dirty hippie and she just wants to do it by herself. But that's not true. And I wanted to go through a couple of the reasons why we chose to do free birth rather than have a birth team. So one of the reasons that's at the top of the list is I had an incredibly traumatic pregnancy. I actually filmed another video explaining my traumatic pregnancy experience. It ended up being 2 hours long, so I thought that was a little excessive, and it went like really personal and really deep. So I may do a shorter version of that eventually, talking about that, because it was a crazy experience, this whole pregnancy, everything that I went through. But I wanted to kind of like shorten it, shrink it down into that being one of our number one reasons is I had an incredibly traumatic pregnancy involving the medical field. So the experiences that I've had before with medicine have been incredibly wonderful and trusting, and I had a wonderful doctor in Texas that I trusted, and a wonderful psychiatric team in Texas that I trusted. And when we moved here to Arizona, I lost all that. I didn't have doctors or psychiatric professionals on my side, and trying to find those here has been the hardest thing, medically speaking. It's been one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do, is like transferring my medical care into a new state that doesn't necessarily support the things that I want. So the way that we found out that I was pregnant is through me breaking my arm, which, if you didn't know that that's a risk of pregnancy, is breaking your bones. It is. So through that experience, I ended up having to have my bone set multiple times. My doctor team ended up making me a story to tell, the butt of their jokes. They violated my consent in multiple ways. They left me without care for a very long time because it was in my best interest, and then the way that they ended up caring for me was absolutely contradictory to that. So a lot of people are like, well, if you had a bad experience with a doctor, like, why not get a midwife? Well, the same thing kind of happened when I went to search for birth support team members. And being that this is the second year that we've really gone through extensive pandemic protocols, extensive medical changes and shifts, I believe, and from what I've experienced, and this is not an attack on anybody because I didn't end up working with anybody, but like the experiences that I've had with people is that they are not reliable. They are not reliable. They are not ready to be on call for you. They are not ready to sacrifice their life and experience for you to have a positive one. And I'm sure there are some beautiful midwives out there. I'm sure there's really beautiful doulas out there. Me as a birth support professional, I know that they exist, but me trying to find one has been really horrible. And me trying to find one that's willing to work with me in the ways that I want, I couldn't find any. And if I did find one that I liked, then they ended up being really inconsistent. And so that just leaves me doubting whether or not they would be there for me in the event that I needed them. And what do I mean by inconsistencies? I mean that they don't reply to messages, texts, calls for up to a week at a time. And if you're going to hire somebody for your birth or, an experience like this, you don't know if you're going to go into labor early. You don't know if you're going to go into labor when they expect you to. So the fact that you could try to hire somebody and then to contact them takes a week, it leaves you kind of distrusting and doubtful of the ability for them to support you during any part of your experience. And in the pre-parts, right, in the early parts of a pregnancy, like most support team, they only allot a certain number of meetings, and then you have to hire them, and then they're there for you during birth. Well, the thing is, if they're not going to be there for you for the beginning part of the meetings, and they're very inconsistent with the meetings, how do you even know if you go into labor like spontaneously, let's say at 22 weeks or 27 weeks or 31 weeks? How do you know they're going to be there? Because pregnancy is unpredictable. That's the thing about it. It's the thing that we know as birth workers and birth support professionals, is that we know it's unpredictable. You could hire somebody to teach a class or support you in a way, and then all of a sudden you're in labor, you're in the hospital with anything. Anything can happen. And so, in my opinion, I'm getting out of breath because I'm like 36 weeks, but in my opinion, I didn't want to have someone that was going to be unreliable on my birth team. I also noticed that because of the pandemic, people struggle really, really bad with maintaining their professionalism under mental duress. So what that means is I understand that people of all walks of life have different mental illnesses. I have many mental illnesses that I am prescribed with, that I am diagnosed with. And so I understand that. However, with birth and hiring a birth support team, you want to make sure that when they come to your birth, that they are able to take whatever's stressing them out and leave it at the door. So that for your birth, you can have the best experience possible, you can have the best energy in the room possible, and you can make that experience the most positive one. So when I was looking at people, not only was their professionalism not really impressive, but also their energy was just off to me. They seemed to not be able to handle stress well, and what I need for a support member, a support team, is first of all the ability to get to know me and my traumas, so that when you come in to support me, number one, like, we're communicating well. Number two, we know each other well enough to be able to recognize different things about each other and what's going on. And number three, just like the ability to like leave whatever is going on at the door, so that like you can bring positive energy into my birth experience. And I wasn't really seeing a lot of that. I was seeing a lot of people that, they might post on their professional business Facebook page that they're having super drama. They're having like extensive anger episodes, that they are not able to like leave the stressful drama, whatever, alone, And I get it that a lot of people use social media to vent, but when it's your professional social media, that's how people get kind of a door to who you are and how you're going to be. And if you're posting all this drama and you're posting all this anger, the only thing that I can read from that is that what if you're having a terrible day and something's going on in your life and you're not able to leave that at the door when you come to my birth? So that was another factor of doubt for me. Now a couple of positive things, a couple of positive reasons why we chose Freebirth as opposed to having a birth support team. First of all, I trust my body. I trust that birth is a completely natural experience. I trust that everything can go to plan. In most births, and I know that the medical statistics are not going to show you this, but worldwide, in the majority of births, things go naturally. Things go as planned. The baby comes out, okay? And when you look at birth as an experience as a whole, and the way that women can be empowered in their own body and trust in their own body and know that this is a completely instinctual experience, I trust that. And I know that my baby is healthy. My pregnancy has been healthy thus far. And I know that, there are different factors that we have to look out for, obviously. But I know that if everything goes to plan, if everything goes naturally, that my baby can come out fairly easily, okay? And that I know exactly how to facilitate that experience, and I know exactly how to help my family help me facilitate that experience. The second reason why we chose Freebirth is because of the pandemic that's going on. We don't want added people into our home. There are a lot of people that I've seen that are birth support professionals that obviously come in PPE and wear medical equipment. However, most don't, and a lot of people are inconsistent with the way that they wear their masks. There's different belief systems. I don't want to medically discriminate against a professional for how they live their life, right? And I don't want them to discriminate against me. However, anything can happen. And if I'm inviting other people into my home, I'm taking that risk with my infant and my baby and my family. And I don't think that it's worth it. I think that I can facilitate the experience without needing extra professionals in my home and in my business. A sidecar to that, one of the reasons that we chose to not give birth in a hospital if we can help it is because they went back to, in Arizona, requiring laboring mothers to labor the entire labor with their mask on. I don't support that. I don't agree with that. I don't think that that facilitates a stress-free and fear-free environment. And those are some of the factors that are really important when you're considering a birth space and creating like your place where you're going to give birth. Safety and removing fear from the environment are two of the main things that you need to facilitate an easy birth. And so when I saw that they were adding in all these extra protocols, when I saw that they don't even allow doulas in at several of the hospitals, and the hospital that I'm checked off if I have to labor anywhere, with my OB, like there is a hospital that they checked off for me. They only gave me 2 options. And they left me till now to decide if I needed a different hospital. And so I've been really struggling with my OBGYNs. This is my 6th one. I don't even know her name. But they literally told me when I went in last Wednesday that, hey, if you want these things, you should change doctors like right now. And it's like, I've tried actually, because I don't trust you and I don't know you. Tried, and no one will take me at 36 weeks, unfortunately, in Arizona with my insurance that I have. So all of those like adding up factors were a lot of the factors that made me personally, for me, choose Freebirth opposed to just home birth with assistance. Now let's talk a little bit about what that means for my family. So I had to actually communicate with my partner And he at first was very like, oh my God, what? Like, wait a second. I thought that you were going to get a midwife. I thought that you were going to get a support team. Like, what are you talking about? It's just going to be me. And he was the kind of type that it's like, when the water breaks, I'm going to freak out and I'm going to freak out. And so I had to kind of go through this process, which I'll actually put in another video, of how to support your partner in supporting you to facilitate your birth. But I had to kind of mentally prepare him to do this. And we had to prepare our house in several ways, which I'll do another video on how we prepared our house for this, and prepared our daughter so that she could be whatever support she wanted to be, because she's 13. So she can either be, a lot of supportive, or she can be just, in the next room and, being like, yeah, go mom, and we love you, It's up to her. We've left it up to her of like how involved she wants to be. But she was like, wait a second, what? We're birthing at the house? And so we watched together as a family several home births and free birth videos, and I kind of had to train them up on, how to break down beliefs that they held around birth and being supportive in a birth that is not facilitated by any kind of professional. So those are some of the reasons why we in our family have chosen free birth as opposed to assisted home birth. So if that's an experience that you have been thinking about, if that's an experience that you kind of want, there's definitely some precautions that you need to take, and I'll probably do a video about that as well, about different things that like you want to consider, especially if you have any risk factors, because obviously my entire pregnancy I have been healthy thus far. All of my ultrasounds have gone beautifully. All of my tests have gone beautifully. They have me on a couple of like late term watch lists, but my blood pressure is great. My blood sugar is great. The baby's weight is great. The amount of amniotic fluid, like all of those things checks for me being a normal low risk pregnancy have been checked. So definitely make sure that you are on the low risk end, or that you have facilitated as much as you can to be on the watch for those risk factors, so that you can have the safest birth that you possibly can. But I'll go into some other videos of like how to prepare your house, how to prepare your spouse or partner, and then different things that you want to be on the lookout for if you want to do a free birth and you have some risk factors, things to be on the lookout for. Thank you so much for sharing with me in this experience and chatting with me today on why we chose free birth for our family. And I'll do a video of the birth hopefully as soon as we go into labor and I birth him. Yay! Okay, so we'll see you soon. Bye.